always going towards the next one. So, you know, you want to start at 0 and go to 2, go to 3, go to 4, and so forth. Changing positions, you always want to keep the next slice pointing to the number higher, the next higher number slice. Does that make sense? And if you don't, then your sculpts are not going to come out right. You always want to point it to the next higher number, because there actually is a flow to this. Now you probably can't see it, but I'm going to move this out of the way so that you can see that there's actually some little particle beam that goes from one to the next. Can you see that? You might have to zoom in a little bit to see those. Okay, so that's important. That kind of shows you the direction of flow. Notice the flow goes from 0 through, in this case, 15. Okay, now I'm not going to put my plug back there because we don't need it anymore. We've already got our shape, so I've removed it. Now we want a clean end on both ends, because we talked about level of detail, or LOD. So let's go ahead and pick, we want to have 2 poles at each end. Okay, so I'm going to click on slice 0. Since it's buried, I can't get to it, so this is when the HUD comes in. And then I'm going to click on load slice, and then I'm going to click on pole. Okay, now it's going to load that end slice as a pole. I also want to do that with slice 1. So the first 2 slices are going to be poles. And we'll talk about in future Sculpt Studio lessons, we'll talk about some of the other types of closings. But for now, we're just going to load these as poles. Okay, so I've got 2 poles on the bottom, and in this case, let's see, I've got to go to slice 15, and I'm going to load that slice as a pole, and you'll physically see it change. It's going to turn dark. And then we're also going to load slice 14 as a pole. Okay, now, so I have my 2 poles, and then at each end I also have 2 slices that are showing the shape for this sculpt. So we should have a pretty clean sculpt when we're done. It should look very much like the cylinder and have the same level of detail that that cylinder does. Okay, now how do we render a Sculpty map? Well, what we want to do is go ahead and click on the base, or on the Sculpt Studio icon on the HUD. Now we're going to do what's called Edit Frame. We're going to click on that because our Sculpty is ready to be entered, or rendered, if you will. Now, as soon as you do that, you know, you're going to see this bounding box. Now that box, of course, is really big, and what you need to do is make it so that it's just over the center line and just touching the edge of that sculpt. Well, you can do that manually, and there's reasons for manually doing that. But for now, we're going to let it auto adjust. So you click on the button that says auto adjust, and it's going to calculate where it needs to be and perfectly size itself for that particular sculpt. Okay? Everybody see how I did that? Okay. Well, we're ready to render that, but we better give it a name. Now